kind of tough words of Jesus in the gospel today, but what he's trying to tell us is very simple. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. On your own understanding, rely not. Very simple. The reason being is that the human faculties that we have will sometimes try on their own to figure things out and will get it completely and totally wrong. However, Jesus does give us the gifts of knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Remember, he says, ask and you shall receive. In our own human reasoning, our own human way of thinking of things, we can seem to get it wrong two different ways. We can either misuse things or stop using them altogether. For us today, we celebrate this beautiful feast day of Sts Joachim and Anne, a good reminder of the holiness of matrimony and the holiness of conjugal relations. The holiness of two people coming together as one flesh. Our world today would either want to misuse this faculty, and then on our reaction to the world, we who are trying to be spiritual, if we are doing this in our own understanding and not God's understanding, we will think of that as all negative and as base, but it's not. St. John Paul II of happy memory has recently reminded the church of this, that there is a theology of the body, that there is a theology of the goodness and the holiness and the dignity of matrimony. Sts Joachim and Anne show us this, because remember, Mary was conceived in the course of a normal couple, a normal spousal relationship between St. Joachim and St. Anne. And our church says, the tradition of our church says that there was such a purity of love in their embrace because God had prepared each of them. Such a purity of love in their embrace that when they came together, God could pour the graces of Jesus' passion into the womb of St. Anne at the moment that Mary was conceived. This is what we believe about Mary and her Immaculate Conception. But we sometimes forget the context. We think easily of the context of Jesus' conception, right? An angel comes to Mary and she conceives in an extraordinary way. But we want to remember, God had Mary be prepared for two faithful spouses. This goes to show us now there is this hunger in our hearts for an authentic understanding of human sexuality. The devil will either get us to misuse or disuse it. Instead, we are called to use it properly. Even those of us who maybe have committed ourselves to a life of chastity for the sake of the kingdom, we are not called to completely disuse that energy. We are instead called to have it be brought forward in a healthy way, a way that can still recognize the goodness of the other, the beauty of the other, and be willing to lay down our lives for that other. We as a church, it seems, have this now speaking to us quite clearly, and it was leading up in that pontificate of John Paul II, but notice we seem to have forgotten about that. You notice that? We don't hear about that anymore, the theology of the body. Why? Sex scandal. Clergy sex scandal happened. And it has distracted the church on these couple of missions that God has given to us recently. One, of course, being the new evangelization. But within the new evangelization is this renewal of our understanding of the gift of human sexuality. Not just humanae vitae, though humanae vitae was both prophetic and necessary, but specifically because you can't tell somebody the nose only. I remember as a kid, I used to get upset when people would tell me the no, but they wouldn't tell me the why and the yes. So humanae vitae tells us the nose, what we're not supposed to do. But St. John Paul II, in his creativity and in his prophetic insight, knew it was important to say the why and the yes to holiness, the yes to holy matrimony, the yes to holy sexuality. Because it's that, it is seeing that, and it is seeing that not only proclaimed but lived out, that our world will wake up from this false sexual revolution. So we ask Sts Joachim and St. Anne to pray for us, to pray for the church at this time, specifically that not only that couples may live out their married life as a light in that direction, but specifically too that we may have this understanding of the holiness of married and conjugal life preached about, lived out, and fostered.